So I thought I'd devote a whole video to inserting a logo on the back of this lid. Let's go ahead and click on the lid and open the part. And we want to add the lid to the back side of the surface. So I'm going to grab my front plane, hold the control key, and duplicate that plane back a goodly distance, let's just say 60 millimeters, so that it's far enough back that we don't have to worry about it. And then I'm going to rename the plane Logo Plane and drag it all the way back to the very beginning of my history tree, just so that we can, it's just a matter of habit that we do that. I'm going to select that plane and then go Insert DWG. Now I drew this logo in Illustrator, but alas, SolidWorks cannot read Illustrator files, so I have to save it out as a DWG and then open it here. I don't think I am allowed to distribute the Bodum logo, so I'm not going to include it. You'll have to go get one on your own. Basically, I just found a raster version of it and traced it in Illustrator. So I'm going to click Next on this dialog box here, and for me, I can change the units of the imported data to millimeters, which is going to give me a slightly better result, and then click Finish. So it's going to bring in a ginormous logo. It's way bigger than I need. First of all, it's backwards. We need to flip the logo, and we can go ahead and just do that right off the bat. And one of the newer features in SolidWorks lets us do that really easily. So I'm going to go to Tools, Sketch Tools, and then down here at the bottom there's this little known feature called Modify. If I click on Modify, it gives me this black origin, and it's a pretty unintuitive interface, but basically all I have to do is right-click on the dot for the x-axis, and it just flips the sketch right around. So that's all we need to do. Flip it, we're good. The next thing is I want to draw a line that will give us a midpoint of our logo, or at least something close to it. So I drew a line here, and I'm going to make that construction geometry so we can use that. And now we just need to scale this thing down, and there are a couple ways we can do that. Let's go ahead and add a point to the midpoint of our line so we can use that. I'm going to select all of these objects here and go up here to Move Entities, and on the right there's a drop down, and we'll go down to Scale Entities instead. And we want to scale about this point, and we want the scale to be, well, a number that we don't know. And to tell you how I get this number, actually we'll take a step back here. I'm going to show you that the width of this logo when it imports is 1,245 millimeters, roughly. Now yours will be a different number, but I'm going to show you how to deal with it. So we'll take all of my graphics, do my scale entities, scale about this point, and I'm going to say 37 millimeters, which is what I want it to end up being. 37 divided by 1245, and that should give me 0.029, which is the exact scale that I need. Now, to be able to move this around easily, it's going to work a lot better if we group these together. Now, sketches have a concept called a block, which is similar to a group. So I can take Tools, Blocks, Make. Basically, all it's going to do is let me put all of these pieces of geometry into a single block instance, a single group of geometry that I can move around really easily. I can even scale it, rotate it, things like that. It just makes it much easier to work with something like a logo. And lastly, I want to add a box around this whole thing. So go ahead and draw that. I think it's going to be about 16 millimeters tall by 48 millimeters wide. And I just need a midpoint, so I'm just going to draw a curve across the middle of it. Make it a construction line. Make this the midpoint. There we go. So now we have a nice centered logo. And I'm going to, now I can just move this to wherever I want it to be. In this case, let's hide this plane. Well, don't need to hide that yet. I really need the carafe top. So I can do a dimension from the carafe top to the top of our logo. We'll make that about 2 millimeters, perhaps. Something like that. That looks okay. And lastly, I'll just round these corners off a little bit. So I'm going to choose a number like 1 millimeter because it's a really small round. going to warn me for all of these points because I'm messing up, potentially messing up some constraints, but that's okay. We'll commit that, and now we have a logo to work with. We can hide this logo plane. Now we just have to get this onto our object. And I'm hoping that's going to be a relatively simple process. Let's keep our fingers crossed, hope for the best. I'm going to do an extruded cut and select this sketch as what we're going to be using as our cut. And by default, because this is a really complex sketch, it's going to use selected contours, and it's only going to extrude this outer piece because that's what I clicked on. So I'm going to right-click on selected contours and say Clear Settings. And then I'm just going to have to click inside the areas that I want to extrude. In this case, it's all of this stuff. And that. Now we just need to give it a distance. Right now it's blind. I want to say offset from surface. So we'll just go right up to this surface and then offset by 1 millimeter. Well, not even 1 millimeter. Let's do a ½ millimeter. And I want to reverse the offset so that it's actually going into our part rather than outside of our part. Hit the checkbox. Hold your breath. Not bad. Looks like it did it. Let's just change that offset value though. Just edit that feature. 1/4 millimeter is too deep. Or ½ millimeter. Let's do 0.15 millimeters. So it's really just a very shallow logo. Good. Close this up. And I think that is just about going to wrap it up for us. Now we just have to do some assembly constraints just to demonstrate them. Make maybe a drawing, because I promised. And then we'll do some rendering.